So now having both these figures side by side, I'm probably going to end up just doing the review of both of the figures here right now. We're probably going to end up going with Rex first, just because I've kind of been anticipating this phase 1 version of Rex. I do have the phase 2, but unfortunately I don't have the original phase 2. I have the Bad Batch version, so hopefully I end up getting the older version, because I just like him having like the pauldron and all the other accessories that comes with it. So let's go ahead and open the Ahsoka version of phase 1 Captain Rex. So here we got a quick tray shot. Got his helmet, his 2 blasters, and Rex. Let's go ahead and look at the accessories first. So first we're going to look at is that phase 1 helmet. Definitely pretty nice, well detailed. It's definitely a clean look. It doesn't have any damages or any paint, additional paint on there. And the visor does go down, which is actually pretty cool in my opinion. Not sure if all the clones have that feature, at least ones that have visors. Definitely a nice addition, having that ability to go up and down. Here is the Bad Batch version of the phase 2. This one does have a visor. It does slightly go down, kind of doesn't want to. And then right here, the visor goes down, just not as smooth, but obviously it goes down as well. But you know, this is a phase 2. We're not going to go for a 1-to-1 comparison, but having both of these is actually pretty cool. You guys can see the difference right there, since the phase 1 and phase 2 was cut in order to make his helmet, so that's why it kind of looks a little similar from the top. Next, we do have these iconic blasters that Rex always has, and these are going to be exactly the same from the Bad Batch version, which I'm not surprised. They would probably reuse the same mold right there, so that's kind of obvious. So let's go ahead and look at the head sculpt first for Rex. You guys can see that it is pretty decent. You know, looks like Rex essentially. And then here we do have the Bad Batch version. You guys can see that the paint application for the hair is slightly different. Not sure exactly why, but I think I kind of like the yellow one better, because this one kind of makes it look grayish. Kind of weird, like the way it looks, or kind of like a cream color. You guys can see that his face is also a little bit more matte and a little bit wider, honestly. Kind of looks a little chubbier, and this one looks a little bit more narrow. Not sure if it's because this is like the animated version, so I'm not sure if that's probably why they did that. Maybe this one's more realistic, but it kind of looks a little bit more cartoony, to be honest. I think this one looks a little bit more realistic. I'm not sure if this head can pop into this one, but I'm not going to do a full comparison of both the figures, just because, you know, this is a phase 1, this is a phase 2. They're both from different versions, but they are somewhat similar in like terms of you know, the armor and all that. The only difference is this one doesn't have the pauldron, because he didn't have it in the show, but he has this cloth right here, which is actually pretty nice. But I didn't realize that this one, it's, you know, it's molded and it's plastic, and even the holster is attached to it, versus this one, it's not. It's a whole separate piece. So you could argue that they kind of went a little bit cheap, not adding cloth goods to this figure. But overall, I'm not really going to complain too much, because I don't have a phase 1 Rex. So we're going to go ahead and look at the articulation of the figure. So unfortunately, it seems like he has single jointed knees, and then this piece tends to move around a lot. This little knee cover right here, he has single jointed knees, and let's see, basically single jointed elbows as well. Does not have butterfly joints, but it can rotate slightly. His arms can do a 360, which is somewhat okay. The shoulder piece, it is attached to, I can't even tell where it's attached to. I don't know if it's attached to the shoulder or the arm. It's very hard to tell, and hopefully I'm not gonna break it. It kind of feels already a little loose, a little bit more loose than I would like to admit. So the pauldron can be removed. Not sure exactly why you would want to, but I guess you could technically add this into this version of Rex, which I'm pretty sure some people would actually do. But overall, it kind of moves around. It would be nice if it had like a little peg maybe on the back, so it could kind of peg in there. But overall, I guess I can't complain too much. And his wrist right here does somewhat move forward and back. It's on a hinge. On this one, doesn't really want to move at all. When it comes to ab crunch, he has like basically no ab crunch. He kind of goes back a little bit, kind of goes forward a little bit as well. And when it comes to his head sculpt, can rotate 360. It could look up somewhat, but not really. I'm not sure if I should do a comparison with this version of Rex with the other ones, but honestly, the articulation for this kind of sucks. When it comes to the ankles, it can go up and down and then rotate like this. Not sure how that would work as far as, you know, posing. He does have thigh swivel as well, but it doesn't swivel all the way due to the armor kind of getting caught up in there. His knee, he has that knee swivel as well, which I guess is good as well. Peg holes at the bottom. So we're gonna go ahead and put the weapon in his helmet just to see what Rex looks like. So adding the weapons to the holster is really easy, fits pretty good, and his helmet slides on pretty decently. Now I'm not really too sure, but I feel like the helmet for me, it looks a little too big for his character. It looks kind of bulky-ish. Not sure if that's what they intended to do, but his helmet does feel like it's a little bit oversized and his body looks a little skinny, so it kind of makes it look like a little like a bobblehead kind of. And I know with the phase 2 is naturally kind of bulky, but I feel like the scale on the phase 2 looks a little bit better than on the phase 1. Now, like I said, I'm not going to complain too much because it's probably the same body mold or the same body in general, just some added differences. But I don't know, I'm kind of liking the phase 2 a little bit more than the phase 1, but this is a nice clean look of Captain Rex. I mean, putting him on display, he's going to look really good in my opinion. Let's go ahead and put some of the blasters on his hands. So Captain Rex is able to hold his blasters fairly decently, but like I said, his helmet just kind of throws me off. I'm not sure exactly why. Maybe it's just me the way I'm looking at it, but overall he is able to hold his weapons. They don't really fall out, but he can't even do that iconic look where he has both blasters together. His arm articulation isn't really that great. He doesn't really want to do that. Even if you kind of force it, you might be able to, but you know, it doesn't work as good as other figures in the past, because I think this one can do it pretty easily. So this one does have like the double jointed elbow, so it is easier to do that pose where he has like the two blasters like just going at a cross. So that's probably be a lot easier with this one. This one being single jointed, I'm not sure exactly why they decided to make this one single jointed, but then this one is double jointed. You guys can see the difference right there. Not sure exactly what that is or why they did it like that. And this one is also pinless. I didn't even realize, just I guess comparing both of these, he is pinless, which is actually pretty good. And now that I'm looking at that, it's good that he's pinless on both his arms and his legs. Definitely a good plus, I believe, but I'm not sure if it's gonna save this figure just as, you know, what it is. You know, Hasbro going a little bit cheap on their Rex really isn't that great in my opinion. So let's go ahead and open this Anakin right here and do the full review on that figure as well. So here we got the Ahsoka version of Anakin Skywalker, and he has that armor that he had in the Clone Wars. So let's go ahead and open this up, look into the accessories, the articulation, the accuracy of the figure, and let's go straight to it. So here we got Anakin Skywalker from the Ahsoka TV show. Now this figure does have a few flaws in my opinion. For starters, I don't like that the belt isn't really attached or has a peg in the front in order to keep it still, because it tends to wiggle when I'm trying to pose it. So that's kind of annoying, but I guess it's something that you can really like bypass. But when it comes to the articulation, it's really not that great. It does have single jointed elbows, which I don't know why. Darth Vader sometimes have double jointed elbows, so I'm not sure why this one has a single jointed. It does have double jointed knees, which is really good in my opinion. Now the knees is pinned, as you guys can see, but at least the elbows is pinless, so it's a mixture of both. Now I'm not sure exactly why they decided to do it like that. Also on the ankle, it doesn't really like to move all that much. It would have been nice if it could rotate a little bit more smoother. Not sure if my figure is just a little bit stiff, but trying to keep him to stand, he tends to fall a lot, but it does go up and down somewhat decently, and it does have that thigh swivel, but it is a little stiff. Not sure exactly why. Maybe you have to heat this up or put it in some hot water in order for it to just move better. But you guys can also see that this finish right here is like really glossy, and this part right here is kind of matte. Now that's not really a negative thing for me, just pointing that out altogether. You can even see that the sculpting is a little bit different. So you can see a crease that goes all the way up his leg, but it stops right here. And it doesn't really like go on this part of the leg. Not sure exactly why it does that on both legs. It would have been nice if the shin area did swivel, because it would have been a lot better than the thighs in my opinion. But having thigh swivel is actually pretty good. Now you can't really rotate him too much right here on the ab portion because of the cloth goods right here. When it comes to ab crunch, he really doesn't have any. He doesn't go forward all that much and doesn't go back all that much. Not really sure exactly why. He's not really hindered by this belt, but it doesn't really want to move. And you can't really move his arms 360 due to this little piece right here, the little shoulder armor piece. As you guys can see, it does have the Republic logo right there. So he's very limited when it comes to the range of motion, but he can't go his arms that high right there. And I'm not sure why this piece right here kind of looks a little too bulky. Not sure if it's maybe the body they used. They use a smaller body and this one is really big. But it does peg in there, which is actually pretty nice. You guys can see that it does peg right there, which would have been nice if Rex's pauldron had a little peg as well. Overall, this figure is like, the head sculpt is really good. I really don't mind it. It doesn't have any weathering, which I don't mind that either. You guys can see it does have some paint here on the gloves or the gauntlet area right here. Got some paint on the belt. Overall, this figure is fairly decent. You guys can see that he does come with his lightsaber, and then removing the actual blade is fairly easy. Now what I did notice is this peg was different from the Darth Vader from the Kenobi show. Not sure exactly why, but you know, I guess because they're different lightsabers. Now the lightsaber in the Kenobi show, as you guys can see, it is a little bit bigger. Not sure exactly why they wouldn't be the same, because this is basically all the same scale. But his lightsaber, Darth Vader's lightsaber, is a little bit bigger. Obviously the details is different as far as the molding, but overall I guess you really can't complain. Here we have Anakin with the blue lightsaber, and then also I have Anakin with the red lightsaber. Definitely nice having that versatility, having him hold either or lightsaber. What's also pretty useful is that the lightsaber does have a little peg in order to insert it into the belt, which it is really useful if you don't want to end up using the lightsaber when you're posing this figure. Now when you do move him around or pose him around, it tends to fall sometimes, but for the most part it's pretty firm in there. Now it would have been nice if Anakin did come with other hands, at least one fist possibly. Having two of the exact open palms kind of sucks. It would have been nice to have just additional hands, especially with this price point, or at least some kind of cool Star Wars accessory. When it comes to this Anakin, I really do like the head sculpt. I do appreciate the new style box. The lightsaber is really decently sculpted. The paint is really decent. Overall, it's a good figure, but the articulation does kind of suck. I wish it was a little bit better. Definitely up to par with Rex, having poor articulation. Now, like I said, that both figures do look kind of weird as far as like Anakin's like shoulder armor piece and then Rex's helmet. The proportion doesn't really look that great. Not having double jointed elbows kind of is a big miss for me. Figures being a little bit more expensive, you kind of have to be selective of what you purchase. Both of these figures are fairly decent, but when it comes to articulation, I definitely believe that these figures are the same, and I'll probably rate it like a decent 6.5 out of 10. When it comes to the accuracy of both these figures, definitely a solid 8 out of 10. They definitely portray it really well, even though the proportions seems a little bit off. Box is really nice, definitely like a 9 out of 10. Pretty decent box, like the new art style. When it comes to the overall figure, price point, articulation, accessories, I think these figures are a solid 7.5 out of 10. If you guys can find these for resale, I definitely recommend picking it up. Having this version of Anakin is pretty cool. Phase 1 Rex is pretty cool as well. But I really wouldn't go out there paying resale prices for both these figures. I don't really think they're worth anything more than retail. I'll definitely have to price these exactly what they are, which is roughly, I believe, $24.99. It was at Hasbro plus like the $6.99 shipping. So averagely, it was like maybe like $26, $27 each with tax. That's pretty high in my opinion. I definitely would only purchase this if you need this in your, not that you actually need it, but in order to add characters into your collection. Definitely pretty good. I also did a little side comparison with Anakin and Darth Vader. Now this is the Clone Wars version of Anakin, and this is like the Kenobi version of Darth Vader. So there are going to be a little bit differences. I also have the Empire Strikes Back Vader. All these figures are definitely different versions of Anakin and Darth Vader, so they're not going to be one-to-one, but it is nice to have the ability to display Vader and Anakin in different possibilities. I definitely like having the Anakin version from the Clone Wars, and I do like having the Kenobi version because I really like that battle damage style Vader. I definitely recommend picking this up if you want to add some versatility to your Darth Vader or Anakin display, or if you want to add Anakin to your Clone Wars display with your other clones, you could do that as well. I don't think I would be displaying Anakin with any of like the Bad Batch or the Phase 2 version of Rex from the Bad Batch. I'll probably have him displayed with either Rex alone or possibly with Darth Vader, just to show that there's different versions of the character altogether. Now, this is my first Black Series Anakin, I guess. I do have the 3/4 inch vintage collections and like the retro cards of Anakin. Like I have like the Kid Anakin, Attack of the Clones. I do have, I believe, this version, the Ahsoka version. I think I do have. I'm not sure. So, but as far as Black Series 6-inch figures, this is my first Anakin. Surprisingly, I didn't get any of the other versions, but overall, I'm pretty satisfied having this one. Besides it having some major flaws, I don't really pose my figures crazy, but just pointing out exactly what I think. And I definitely do not recommend getting this one for resale or pay resale prices on Mercari or eBay. Definitely a decent pickup for retail. But anyways, you guys let me know down in the comment section below, what do you guys think of Anakin Skywalker and Rex from the Ahsoka show? Like I said, Anakin is number 17 and Rex is number 16 in the line. Comment down below if you guys ended up getting him for retail. What is something that you like and dislike of each one of these figures? And I'll see you guys in the next video.